Hi, it's Carol from Crinkled Path. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would take you along on my newest project, which is a custom journal that has twofold purpose. It is a recipe book of sorts for cocktails, and it's also themed with flight, airplanes, space, all kinds of flight stuff. And since a sampling of drinks is called a flight, that's why it kind of combines the two. I'm willing to take it on and try it, even though I know nothing about airplanes or cocktails. So I'm gonna just admit that up front. But if you saw my dragon journal, I knew nothing about dragons before I did that. And it's just the joy of making something that delights somebody else and really just hits home for them that kind of leads me to take on these projects that are a little out of my comfort zone. So I thought I would walk you through start to finish. I've not done that on a made journal before. We have been working in the altered book for memory keeping, and so I thought you might enjoy seeing this from start to finish. So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what I have gathered for the journal. And let's start with the cover. I had this little science pamphlet that talks all about the science of flight and the technology behind airplanes actually getting off the ground. And I thought I would use this to help on the cover. And then this is the cover I chose. And I chose it because even though I'm probably going to cover up the title on the cover, the title is still on the side and includes that word. And it's just a nice size for a recipe book, I think. So this is probably going to go on the cover. I'm thinking I might paint the cover a navy blue so that this blends in. And then this will go on the back for the same concept. So that's coming down the road. I chose these papers as the inside end papers. So that's going to be part of the cover. These are my signatures, which I took from, let's kind of flip through here. So this is that flight pamphlet that I was telling you about. And I included that entirely in there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 signatures. And I took that book and I divided it amongst the 9 signatures, but I had to cut each of the double page spreads and then put them back together with washi tape so that they would be in the right order. I had to divide them amongst the signatures. So that's that one. I had some solar system charting paper. I had a few old airplane collection books. One was a international fighter planes technology book. I had one that was a Smithsonian history of airplanes book. I've included some pages from a science book, some ledger paper just because it gives us more room to write. I had a solar system book, and then I had a tour packet from the Kennedy Space Center as ephemera. Let me see what else I've got. The outsides of the signatures are scrapbooking paper. This was just an end paper from a book that I like the color. Again, some more plain paper and pictures from some of those historic airplane books. More ledger paper. A piece of music that had to do with flying. These were in understanding instruments. It was a technical flight training book. This was another science page from about stars and constellations. This was a recipe book for making homemade beer. And yeah, it's somebody's handwriting. I just bought the book because I liked the ledger paper, but then I thought this would be fun to include some of these in here. This is a print from a old Disneyland pamphlet. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So more of that flight book. Some from a spacewalk kids book, a dot-to-dot book, another one of the beer recipe book pages, some more on historic flight. These notes and charts paper were actually in a Wall Street book, so the stuff on the back doesn't really apply, but I just liked the basic gray and grid, and I have a lot of that as kind of scrap to fill in spaces where I want to cover up things. So I have this whole baggie of those and some full sheets. So I'm going to try to work in more places where, you know, the person who's getting the book can write in their cocktail recipes. This is a Star Wars Mad Libs page, and then more of that flight book, more from the training manual. This was actually from the book that I got the cover. Again, more from my historic airplane books, some graph paper, more from the flight book, another Star Wars Mad Libs. This page was from a children's rocket. It was just a really thin little paperback, but I loved the star paper and the fact that it had some space things inside, and I'm probably gonna be covering up some of this stuff. That's why I need extra papers for that. More from the flight book. This is a star map book that I folded this giant double spread to make pockets. More from the historical thing. This is actually a garden planner. It says date and weather, and since weather can affect flight, included that. Bird wings versus airplane wings. Celestial navigation. It's more space related things, and then a map of the moon. I included this long skinny coffee book. You'll see it better as we get to the other side. More from the flight book. Let me show you this. So it's a long skinny tall book about coffee, and no, coffee's not really a cocktail. Another side item that interested the person who's going to be receiving the journal, and so included a couple little snippets of coffee. More from the flight book, more from the flight instruction manual, some futuristic sort of concept drawings about space travel, more of our Wall Street paper, some more concept drawings, another page from the book from the cover, and another moon map. So you can see there's a little bit of all of these things in each of the signatures, and basically what I do is I take a few papers. Oh, and there's one double-sided advertisement for some type of cocktail, and I included that, and you'll see more of that kind of stuff in my pile of ephemera here. So I made piles of each of the things, like a pile of ledger papers and graph papers, and a pile from this flight book, and a pile from the reading book that I got the cover, and the star mapping book, and the flight instruction manual. And I just pulled pages with some interesting graphics. This is another piece from the cardstock package, another of the beer recipe, and this is another one from the book that we got our cover from. I just kind of put them in piles, and then I made the covers for the signatures, and I started divvying up the things so that each one had a couple. And another thing that I take into consideration is if there's something double-sided that I really want to be able to fully see both sides, and the center spread is a complete picture, then I make a pile of things that could be potential for the center spread. So like this one, I didn't necessarily want just half of the space shuttle on a page, and it doesn't look as identifiable when only half of it's showing. So things that have a potential for being the center spread where you're going to see the whole page, I made a separate pile of those and then chose my favorites from that to go in here. 9 signatures, each one has 11 pages. I wanted this to be really pretty fat because I'm going to be including all the ephemera in it, placing it in journaling cards, gluing on ephemera, and I don't think that the person who receives this is actually going to be adding much memorabilia themselves. They're just going to be writing in recipes, and so I am stuffing this, and then I will make the spine to fit however stuffed it is. All right, so next we have things that could go on a journaling card, or that could be glued down to the page, or could just be tucked in a pocket as memorabilia. So I have this Air France poster. I have this book, which is a bartending book with lots of recipes already in it. And so I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to make a little booklet of this and tuck it in, or if I'm going to use it on different pages. But it talks about all of the tools you need to bartend, and also the recipes for drinks. I have lots of advertising. I'm not sure if I will just be tucking this in somewhere, or maybe I'll just pick one side that I like better to cover up some of the writing I don't want. This is a mail-in card for information if you wanted more information about these different kinds of products. There's some space station artwork. These little pictures were from one of the golden field guides on space. So I just liked some of the pictures on those. Oh, here's the cover page from that. I have a postcard from Maxwell Field with some planes on it. I have this advertisement that was in the center of, like, added in. It's got some recipes on it. I have some of my speech flashcards, space and airplane recipe for Cherry's Jubilee, which of course requires rum and brandy, I guess, to light it on fire, and then brandy sauce on the other side. There's these recipes. I love the 1950s design on there. Here's another piece of sky map. This is a vintage pilot logbook. And then these are also from another vintage logbook. I have these pages from a air flight guide instruction manuals. There's all the information pages about how the flight guide works. And then I actually pulled a couple of pages of the airport information for a few places. This was a name tag for a pencil case. I actually want to say this might have come with this. Yes. This is a zipper pouch that I store my special calligraphy pens, watercolor pencils, and chalk pencils in. And this came on it, and since it was space related, I pretty much save any ephemera that I come across, and I have bins where I sort by topic. So I had a science bin where a lot of this space stuff was getting thrown. There's a playing card that says aviator on it, and then I have all these little pamphlets, advertisement, recipe book kind of things that I got at my local thrift store, and I'm just going to be tucking these into pockets. I think they're adorable and vintage, and I love it. This was from a kid's craft book, and I like that he's two-sided. I think he's going to get cut out and put in a pocket. This was kind of unique. It's a Chinese New Year envelope, the tradition of giving money on Chinese New Year in these bright red envelopes, but it is Star Wars themed. And then I also found at my local thrift store some Star Wars stickers that were half used, so they were very inexpensive, and I'm going to cut them out and put the ones that I don't use on the page in this pocket to share with the person who gets the journal. Here's some other rocket pictures and planet pictures that were in that children's rocket book that I was telling you about. Then we have more advertising with recipes, and I really like these, and I had thought for a hot minute that I might put one of these as the center fold for each of the signatures, but I actually ended up with so many things that I liked for the center that I just kept these out. And I think I'm going to actually be folding these and putting them as flip outs on the page. And so they're going to get attached somehow throughout the book as a flip out. And again, I love the 50s era artwork in these. Another older book that just had some bar instructions and like, what do you need and how do you plan a party? And I love the little illustrations on this too. I love that we kind of had a big fascination in the 50s and 60s with space. Not that that's died off, but just a certain era of that artwork kind of goes together, I think. Here's another recipe for a tiki bandit, which is a type of drink. A spaceman. This is the cover from a book, this quirky little bunny. This book was all about recipes that were supposed to cure ills. I probably will just use this on a page where I need to cover something else up. I like this picture, but I didn't really want, you know, some of the other stuff that's on the page, so I may cut this out to put in. And then I have a bunch of fussy cut things related to the space shuttle and some rockets. I have this label from that also came with that book that I'm going to use on the cover, some space art, and then I have this very crinkled piece that has a constellation on it and a compass. I have lots to work with, probably more than I need, but I'd rather not run shy. Like I said, I anticipate this book being very stuffed. That's all for today, just to give you a look into what's going to start formulating. And I'll tell you what my next step will be, and then I'll show you in my next video how far I get. My next step is that anywhere where there's just writing like this, I mean, it might be somewhat interesting, but we need more places to put ephemera and we need more places to write. So anywhere where there's just writing and no pictures or illustrations, I'm going to be sewing pockets. I'll be going through and just taking this out. Part of why I do all this before I bind it, and I'll be sewing pockets in, and so that's my goal. And since I can't really film at my sewing machine, I figured I would do that step off camera, and then we'll talk about what's next and incorporating some things into those pockets. And I hope you enjoy seeing something different. I'll be still doing memory keeping, and you can see those episodes once a week at least, and we'll be adding this in as another upload for the week. As preparation for sewing the pockets, I'm going to do a quick flip through, and I'm going to pick pages that are similar size with less interesting content, and I'm just going to put a binder clip on the side where I want the opening of the pocket. If I can, my fingers are cold this morning, can't get these on there. So I'm just gonna do this in fast forward, and at least then you get a glimpse into a bit of the decision making and where the pockets are going to go. And I think I want at least 2 pockets in each signature. Okay, the other thing I'll probably do is cut these all so that the pages in each signature are even. I have some that are really sticking up here, and so that'll be one of the other things that I do. I don't necessarily need it to fit inside the height of the signature, and I do use the cardstock scrapbooking pieces for the outer parts of each signature because they do offer more support, and all the pages inside are much thinner, and so this just helps each signature stay together better. All right, that's all for today, and I will check in with you once I have this done. Bye bye.